we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Getting geeky in Little Rock. It's Shane Plays Geek Talk. Today we're going to gather our party before venturing forth. It's a special episode, a very special episode of Shane Plays Geek Talk. Got my buddy Matt Barton of Matt Chat, Professor Matt Barton, the King Rat himself on. I'll get him talking with us here in a second. He's waiting eagerly in the wings. He's probably... Zach, go ahead and play that. You got it? This is Matt Barton killing a rat.
Accurate this thing is in terms of speed. Oh, there we go. I knew it. Oh, we got a giant rat. Got a giant rat. Oh,
Matt's playing Ultima.
Man, I love these. And I got a mace. Perfect rat killing weapon. Ooh. Pounding that thing. With a mace. This is what it's all about. I mean, look at, he's begging for. He's got like these little claws that he's like, please hit me with the mace. But look, he's like an evil rat too.
Oh yeah,
just those eyes, man. And he almost killed me. Got him down to 9 health points, and there's a dad blasted thief after me. God.
That is that's just a mild example of my friend Matt Barton losing his mind over killing rats in a CRPG, which is a computer role-playing game. Again, this is Shane Stacks. I'm your host. This is Shane Plays Geek Talk. The disembodied voice you heard chuckling in the background a moment ago is Matt Barton, my friend. Matt, what's going on, man?
Get that mace!
Yeah, get that mace. No beady little eyes looking at me. Oh, he's evil. Oh, he's evil. So,
whiskers.
Yeah, so we've got something real cool to talk about here in a second. An announcement that we've already announced, but we have a real announcement to make now. And then because I don't want this to be an hour-long advertisement just for what we're going to announce, I thought it would be fun to have a discussion on, we're each going to give our top 3 computer role-playing games of all time. And then, if you're listening, like, what is a computer role-playing game? Because I have people of different fandoms and geekdoms and people stumbling across the radio dial that hear this show. It is a role-playing game that you play on a computer or video game console.
Yeah, if you don't know, maybe you should preserve their innocence.
Well, it's too late. Just like you love to kill a rat, I love to introduce people to new geekdoms and fandoms and stuff that I love. And of the pillars of my geekdom, computer role-playing games is one of them. Comic books would be another one. So these are we're right up in my main.
The Freedom Force must have just been. That's got to be one of your favorites.
Well, we'll just have to see. So we've got to hold our powder, pal. Yeah, got to tease. Let's call the tease. Will Freedom Force be on my list? I know what's going to be on Matt's, or at least I have a pretty good guess. But on top of that, we're also going to share the upcoming CRPG that's not released yet that we're most anticipating. And then if we have time, we're going to share our personal biggest disappointment in computer role-playing games, period. So that's going to be the show. But before we get to all that, I got to throw out a couple of show notes here. If you're listening on May 4th, May 11th, today's the 11th. Last week was May 4th. On May 11th at 1 p.m. Central on 101.1 FM The Answer, or via the live stream at 1011fmtheanswer.com. So glad to have you. That's the live show. So we're live right now if you're listening at that time. And if you wanted to, you could tweet me at Shane Plays ShanePlays. Or you could if you got any cojones, you could call in at 501-823-0965. So anyway, this is a live show if you're listening on May 11th at 1 p.m. Central. If you're listening by podcast or on YouTube or on Krypton Radio, KryptonRadio.com is SciFi for your Wi-Fi. We always play a week delayed there. Just really glad to have you along for the ride. Last week's show, which was live from sponsor Collector's Edition in North Little Rock, Arkansas, it was Free Comic Book Day. And we did, we reassembled the same team we had a year ago of Michael Brown, Richard McBain, and William McBain, and talked about Avengers Endgame while we were also having a live event, including a cosplay contest at Collector's Edition. So that's archived out there as the podcast and everything if you want to go look for that. Today's show, again, is we have a big product announcement. And then we're going to be talking about computer role-playing games. So, I mean, Matt, this is your baby. I helped, but this is your baby. So what are we holding in our eager little hands that officially releases tomorrow?
Let's see. Big project released tomorrow.
What could that be?
I don't know, Shane.
My once-a-year toothbrushing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well.
What could it possibly?
Should I just blurt it out?
Just throw it out there, man.
Drum roll.
Yeah. Yeah, do it.
We have Dungeons and Desktops 2.0.
Whoa.
Second edition. Bigger, badder, and most importantly, in color.
With more rats. More rats in color, guaranteed.
I did 200 extra pages on that.
Yeah, it's this book. I want to go ahead and talk about this book.
Way more rats.
That's
an important point. We should emphasize that.
Yeah,
Way
there
more
are
rats.
literally, when I was looking for screenshots in this book, I made sure if they had a rat in them that rat had some action. And that it was like
Black rats,
leaping
rats,
at the screen.
Giant rats,
Yeah.
barbecue rats.
So, again, if you don't know what a computer role-playing game is, modern examples would be Skyrim, Fallout 4, there's other stuff out there. Diablo, so people would argue.
Divinity, Original Sin.
Divinity. But the stuff that's really gotten out there that even the most casual gamer or person probably knows is probably Skyrim or Fallout. And those games came from a genre that has what was that?
Witcher.
The Witcher, perfect example. Yes, The Witcher is part of a genre of games that has a long, rich history going back to the 70s. Mostly when the chocolate accidentally fell into peanut butter, and then you got Reese's. Well, when D&D
that takes you back.
when D&D accidentally fell into the mainframe on college campuses. And I'm oversimplifying, but basically the computer role playing game was born, and it came out of stuff even before that, wargaming and Stratomatics, fantasy baseball game and all that stuff. But anyway, so that so if you Baldur's Gate, trying to think of some other Divinity, Original Sin, there's a ton of role playing games. Say that again. Ultima, yeah, Ultima. So. All of these Baldur's Gate, which Baldur's Gate 2 will be Matt's biggest disappointment. That made his biggest disappointment list. So
yeah, we don't use that name.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. So Zach, do you play any computer role playing games?
I do not.
You don't?
I don't. I just love watching them on YouTube.
But you watch them on YouTube.
I don't play video games really as much as I used to, so I just basically watch. And I just enjoy it.
Yeah. So what?
That's the thing now.
It's a huge
watching
thing.
games.
What Might and Magic? There's another big one. What?
Oh yeah.
What?
John Van Canningham.
What can you think of a computer role playing game that you like to watch?
Well, you brought up The Witcher.
The Witcher,
and I also
big.
love the is it the Telltale games with the was it the Wolf Among Us and games like that?
Now those
I
would classify those as adventure games or choose your own adventure games.
Okay.
I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole because it's real.
We must define our terms.
It is really it's a big debate on what a role playing game is.
Okay.
But the Telltale games are usually you follow a plot and you're presented with one of two choices,
Right.
and then you choose, and then a different. So role-playing games usually, at a minimum, involve some sort of character that their skills increase,
Gotcha.
or something. They get experience or
Okay.
something, and then so that's one of the basic. And I don't think that happens in the Traveler's
No, it
Tales.
doesn't.
But the storytelling aspects of role-playing games are strong, and those Traveler's Tales games have extremely strong storytelling
Yeah.
aspects.
Well, The Witcher, like I say, I love The
Yeah.
Witcher 3. Yeah.
Well, The Witcher is a great example of a role-playing game that also has a very strong storytelling and cinematic
Yeah.
experience to it. So anyway, okay, so we're Matt and I are ridiculously pleased to announce that Matt wrote a book about 10 years ago called Dungeons and Desktops: The History of Computer Role-Playing Games. And it's considered one of them, like anybody who's into.
And it took over the planet.
And it did. It ate the planet. We're actually living inside the book right now, and we just don't realize it.
Oh,
And it's considered anybody that like teaches video game history or is a hobbyist of video game history, retro gaming, especially computer role-playing games, which this is a fascinating thing for me, because I love tabletop role-playing games and I love computer games. So to watch these two to come together and to learn the history of how it all happened and who innovated what is just fascinating. But this is a new book. It's an updated version of Matt's book from 10 years ago. And again, anybody that's like really hardcore into the history of computer role-playing games specifically, but retro gamings in general, is probably aware of Matt's book. Within that niche, it's a very important book, and it's also important pop culturally because it's what Matt does with his Matt Chat YouTube series, where he plays games and talks about them, and then he interviews game developers. I mean, he's getting documented for future, historians or whatever, stuff that's going to be very important when people try to understand pop culture. And pop culture is
the rat slayer's being swaddled right now.
Yeah. I did have to restrain Matt from dedicating 96.3% of the book to his exploits of killing rats. So that's one of the few things I was able to keep him from doing. But again, this book is very important. Dungeons and Desktops: The History of Computer Role-Playing Games. And about a year ago, Matt and I were talking, and we're like, let's update this book to a new edition. Because the original edition, as important as it is, and a lot of people love that book and have copies of it.
Issues.
What's that? It was some issues. Yeah. And the main thing that this book, right off the bat, anybody flipping through it is going to see that every screenshot in here is bold, delicious, vivid color.
Crisp.
Yep. These screenshots just pop off the page.
Just pops off the page and pokes you in the eye.
Just pokes you right in the eye.
It hurts.
I've gone through 3 eyes just since I started looking at this book. I'm running low.
Looking for the brightness dial.
Yeah.
Contrast.
It looks absolutely fantastic. It's got the existing content that was already in the book has been revised in some cases, corrected. There, maybe there were typos or, they're just all of the issues with the first edition that we know of have been corrected. There are beautiful, just absolutely beautiful, sizzling hot, spanking sweet color screenshots.
Photos of me.
There's a picture somewhere in the book of Matt with a hat on.
Matt with a hat on.
Yeah, you're reenacting the first scene of the Bard's Tale.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Look at my Bardley days.
Yeah, back in your Bard days. And then it's got here the key features according to the back of the book. Reviews and commentary on hundreds of games across many platforms, comprehensive coverage of the history of computer RPGs, hundreds of full-color screenshots, images, and photos, and a comprehensive index at the back. In addition to that, Matt, yes, there's an index, which makes me happy.
Index.
An index, yes.
It's a good index, too.
It's really good. Did you do the index?
The index.
I didn't touch the index. Did you do the index?
Well, I did not do the index.
Who did the index? Whoever did it did a good job.
I think I might have suggested a few entries, but that's a good question. I don't know who did the index.
I didn't do the index. It just kind of magically appeared.
No, you didn't do it.
I didn't do it. No, I did not do the index. I would have probably jumped off
But
my
it's a
roof
great
halfway
index.
through.
And that, I'm kind of laughing at that, but that's a pretty big deal when you're looking for a game designer or concept, mechanic, whatever.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And then
I just don't think indexers get enough love. I mean, here we are. We don't even know the name of our indexer.
I don't know. Whoever you are, you phantom indexer, you have my unwavering admiration. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the book later in the show. But the Matt also added this thing, an appendix called the CRPG bestiary. So there's a ton of CRPGs in here that he gave like a paragraph kind of write up to, like a lot of those like Leonard Maltin, like movie reference books where you just get like a little paragraph on the movie, kind of, tell you, summarizes it. So for the games that couldn't be got to in the main part of the book, and the book is split into chapters that progresses across the history of role-playing games or computer role-playing games. And at the very beginning, it's talking about role-playing games and wargaming and all that. This isn't just an encyclopedia of video game entries. This is a comprehensive walkthrough of the history of computer role-playing games. And each chapter also has entries on standout games from that era, whether they stood out because they were good or because they were turkeys. But they're in there. And then there's new content, because you can't, in the past 10, what happened in the past 10 years, Matt? What was this website that came along that did big things?
What now?
There was a website that came along that allowed people to do big things.
Well, I know you're not talking about matchat.us. You must be talking about Kickstarter.
Kickstarter, that's right. Yeah, we have an entire section of the book called The Kickstarter Renaissance.
Crowdfunding.
Yes, or the Renaissance comic kickstarted. And so that's a major addition to this book too.
Renaissance. How do you pronounce that word anyway?
I say Renaissance, but I'm sure I could be wrong. Well, how do you say it? Renaissance? Yeah. All right. Anyway, so this book, we'll talk a little bit more about this book later in the show, but you can get it on Amazon right now. There'll be links in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast version. But it's Dungeons and Desktops, The History of Computer Role-Playing Games, 2nd edition. You can go to Amazon and order it, and that's in softcover. And then, and I believe there's a hardcover version that you order directly through CRC Press, which is the publisher. Is that correct, Matt?
You get the hardcover from Amazon, too.
Oh, can you? Okay.
I think it's on Amazon and the publisher's website.
Okay.
As far as I know, they're both the same price at the moment.
Oh, nice. So, okay.
I mean, there's a difference between the softcover and the hardcover, but
yeah,
Amazon or the publisher's site, the same deal.
Right. And this book has a foreword from Chris Avalone. Thank you very much, Chris.
Backward by you.
Yeah, it's got a backward by me, a surprise encounter. And then and just a couple of the people who were kind enough to give us quotes include Richard Garriott, Lord British himself, and Brian Fargo. So, it's fantastic.
Big names.
Big names. This is, and when this book came in and we got it in our hands on, was it Thursday? We each got our copies. I was knocked over.
Yeah, you had to wait for yours, really.
Yeah, I found out about 2:00 in the afternoon. Mine were in a box sitting on the porch, and I didn't get home till like about 9:00 that night. So that was kind of hard.
And you opened up the box, and it was like that Pulp Fiction moment with the gold glow.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. So my inner 13-year-old is finally impressed with me. Finally, after all these years.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now on Amazon.
Are you? You're ordering a copy right now on Amazon, Zach?
Oh my God.
You're ordering 10 copies?
How many copies can you order at once?
I know. Thanks, Zach. You're expensing it to the radio station's account?
To your account.
Thanks, Zach.
You would give him a free copy? Come on.
Oh, yeah, he'll get a copy. Are you kidding? Zach's getting a copy. He'll poke and prod it with a stick because it's a physical thing and not digital, but I'm still going to give him a copy.
You can get him a digital copy. It is available in Kindle, right?
Yeah.
Zachary, I guess if he's looking at the site, can you let us know if there's a Kindle version?
It is on Kindle.
It
I
is
saw
on
it earlier
Kindle,
today.
but I do prefer the physical copy.
All right, well,
I do.
Man, he is pulling out his credit card like a ninja. He's holding it like a throwing star. Yeah. So
he's ready to level up.
Oh yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about this book later, but it's Dungeons and Desktops: the history of computer role playing games, second edition. Again, I know that I'm one of the co-authors, and Matt, thank you again for allowing me to participate in the ride because it was a heck of a lot of fun.
You added that special sauce.
The old special sauce, yeah. So.
I mean, you'd be surprised how much funnier this edition is too. We didn't even mention that.
Yeah. We tried to work in some personality and
Very
and
geeky humor. I mean,
I've already gotten feedback on that people like that, and I didn't know I didn't know how it was going to go down. I was like, it seems funny now, but I think it worked out. And I thought the publisher might pull it, but they didn't because we have these little Abbott and Costello routine going through the whole book or parts of the book anyway. I want to make sure to give credit to the cover artist, Robbie Sambot. This was an acrylic painting that took him about 4 months, and it is an homage to the original Pool of Radiance cover art, and it shows Matt Barton, the Rat King himself, holding a sword like a total Viking and surrounded by rats and all that cool stuff. It's a fantastic cover, so thank you again, Robbie. Anyway, to move us forward, because I do want to make sure we're going to give our countdown on our computer role-playing games, which is where, some people will be listening to the show just for that. But if you buy a copy of the book, I sure would appreciate it. And I've got to do this. It's very important. There are people out there that they just put up with me so they can get to the banter segment with Zach. So Zach, how the heck are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic.
All right. Well, as far as I know, everything is quiet on the muffin front. Mm-hmm. People don't know that the head of my news team, Sal, and it's not him, but it's his grandmother and her dog Muffin. Mm-hmm. If I don't banter with Zach, they get upset. So but I like bantering with Zach, right? Mm-hmm. Zach, we're buddies. So, it's a win for everybody. So go ahead and let's do our weekly Survivor Westeros check-in. Okay, Zach, we're in the final season of Game of Thrones.
Yes, we are.
Which we're calling Survivor Westeros.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch it. But you do.
I do.
So I depend on you, Zach.
Okay.
And others depend on you. Now, Matt, do you watch Game of Thrones?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you got it back up here. Okay. So the last time we did this, there were 4 people in the studio and nobody watched Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. So, but Zach did. So, Zach, what happened?
Yeah, Zach.
This past weekend, basically, was the follow-up episode after the major war.
What were they? The episode where they shoved all the women and children down in a crypt while undead were attacking?
Yes, Yeah.
So the episode after that, what happened?
So, like I said, this was the episode after, and basically, it was just them recuperating, getting ready for their fight against Cersei, who's the quote-unquote queen of the 7 kingdoms.
And that's Cersei Lannister,
Cersei
right?
Lannister.
All right.
What? She may say she's the queen, but she may not actually be the queen. But that's for another day or whatever. So, like I said, they're recuperating, getting their minds back in order, and just seeing who all they have if they need to rest,
Do they have any women or children left after putting them in with a bunch of corpses during an undead attack?
There are still some left. Some.
Okay.
There should be still some left. But, it was a bad decision.
Yeah, okay.
It was a bad decision.
I'm like, well, that's just stupid.
Well, this season has actually been, criticized for that exact same reason. There's been a lot of bad decisions.
It's like, what are y'all doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And so, but, that was the follow-up episode after the major war.
Well, now you had the Red Wedding, right?
Yes.
Are they calling the crypt scene the Black Funeral? Matt, what do you think? Matt, what did you think of the
Starbucks moment?
Yeah, we're going to get into Starbucks. Mm-hmm. I got that, but what did you think of the tactical or strategic or whatever it is decision to put all the women and children in a crypt during an undead fight? Would you do it in a computer role-playing game if it was one of the options?
That's a great question.
So, Matt, you're playing, let's say that in Baldur's Gate 2.
Maybe you don't like the women and children all that much. Have you thought about that?
Well, it's possible. A good computer role-playing game will give you, variations of choice and moral ambiguity.
Yeah, that would have been a reload moment.
That would have been, you had to, but
I would have reloaded it. Like, okay, what's the...
let's say that you were playing a computer role-playing game, Ultima, let's call it Ultima, or Baldur's Gate, whatever. All right, Pull of Radiance, whatever. And they're like, we're about to be attacked by a bunch of undead. And they say, sir, what should we do with all the women and children? And the choices that pop up say, give them weapons and let them defend themselves. B, send them away to Helm's Deep. Or C, put them in a crypt with a bunch of bodies. Which way would you go with that?
You need to watch the show, Shane. You need to watch it.
Yeah, I think, any kind of total war kind of game would taught you. You probably don't want to charge your cavalry in like that first thing either,
Yeah, you got, it's, I don't know. Anyway.
I've seen some breakdowns where people are like, I don't know, I guess they think they're generals or something.
I don't know. I'm no general, but I don't think. I wouldn't put my wife and child in with a corpse during an undead attack.
You're just basically saying it should be common sense. Might as well let's send them away. You know, let's just send them away.
I get the point of like put them in like the basement because it's like the crypts. Put them down there. I get that, but guess what, guys? There's already stuff down there, and it's an undead attack in a fantasy world.
I would love watching the episode with you.
People in this world that don't believe that. All this is happening, right? They still think the walkers and everything's still a myth.
All right. Well, you can't. All you got to do is look at the past 2 or 3 election cycles. We're no better in real life, right? We only believe what we want to believe. That's as political as I get. I'm going to reel it back in. All right, the Starbucks moment. Since Matt brought it up, Matt, what happened with the Starbucks moment?
I didn't even see the Starbucks cups. Apparently, they've already edited it out. But yes, I guess it was, Zachary might know more about it, but it seemed like they just kind of messed up. And I guess one of the actors was drinking out of a Starbucks cup, had it on the table.
Yeah, I missed it myself.
It was kind of a big moment.
Yeah, it was, like I said, I just saw it on Twitter probably like a day or two later, and I missed it. I had no idea about it.
So was it like, is like Starbucks running like a viral ad campaign? Like, hey, are you dragging? Come on in and get a cup. Is that, I would.
That's a great one.
I heard something that, like, literally, they were honestly like,
she wouldn't get coffee from Starbucks. She's obviously a Caribou coffee type of queen,
Right. So anyway, I saw like the thing going around on Twitter or whatever, and I thought somebody just photoshopped it in there, and I was like, there's some obscure joke I'm not getting, and then comes out, find out that there it is. So. There you go. The cup of...
Yeah, I thought it had been photoshopped in, or it was just some little object that kind of looked like a Starbucks cup. It's kind of blurry,
It's a new magical item called the Cup of Stars. The Flagon o' Stars.
The Cup of Stars.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, well, Zach, thanks so much for the check-in, pal. So, all right, Matt, let's do this before we go to a break. Let's give out our third... We're going to count down our top 3 CRPGs of all time to celebrate.
CRPG countdown.
To
count up, I guess.
I like that. Yeah, give me some more of that 80s radio. Casey, I'd like to dedicate this top 3 to Matt Barton. Matt, what is your number 3? Not your number 1, your number 3, and why?
Oh, this is hard.
And this countdown is brought to you by Dungeons and Desktop, 2nd edition from CRC Press, available on Amazon.
And Starbucks coffee.
Co-authors, and Star Wars coffee.
Starbucks, get it.
And stupid tactical decisions in a big battle. And the letter Z.
All right.
Okay.
The third position.
Yep.
I'm going to go Might and Magic 6 on that.
There you go. Solid choice. Now, why are you going with that?
It's just, it's one of those games that for me, it's kind of my comfort game.
Yeah.
I go back to it. Everything works. It's just fun to play. It's got that spirit, the humor. It's massive. And you could play this thing for pretty much, I did spend pretty much whole summers playing it.
Yeah. So how old were you when you were playing?
It's a wonderful, charming game. The music, just good stuff. good stuff.
So how old were you when you first played Might and Magic 6?
Well, let me see. I must have been like 20s maybe. I remember I started to play it, and then some stuff happened, right? And then I didn't have access to a computer anymore. All I had was an Amiga computer.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't play that. Couldn't play it on that, so I actually called Gateway. Remember back when that company?
Oh, yeah. There for a while, they were,
whatever.
I mean, yeah, everybody loved Gateway there for a while.
I'm just like, send me a computer.
So you demanded.
Yeah, but it was well worth it, man. I just love that game.
So
Fantastic. If you haven't played it, I think it still holds up really well today.
I actually have never played Might and Magic 6, but it's one of those games that's spoken of always in massively, respectful tones. So, and I have played some of the Might and Magic. Pardon me. I played Might and Magic 10, which I enjoyed. But I've never, Might and Magic was never one of the.
But the Teo imitation, Shane.
Just, well, for Might and Magic, for whatever reason, I'm not against it. It's just never one of the series that I personally got into. So, but I have played.
I didn't get into the earlier ones. I played the first one a little bit on my Commodore 64, but the sixth game, I remember one reason I got it too was just the awesome cover art.
Mm.
I don't know it was like a Clyde Caldwell. I'm not exactly sure who painted that.
I did
that classic Dungeons and Dragons artistry with the dragon and the warriors and everything around it. I'm like, I don't even know what kind of. I haven't played any of these, but I can tell by the cover art, it's probably for me.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I miss the days of the big, huge boxes, and you and I have talked about this. You talk about it a lot on your show. You open up the box, and then you get the cloth map and the little Ankh, with Ultima and then the manual, and you just read the manual and you get all absorbed into it before you ever even load the game up.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. I mean, people don't, I guess you still have install times, but back then you might get 4 or 5 CDs to install. I mean, that's going to take you at least an hour, maybe more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The whole time you could be looking through the manual, getting all psyched, pumped up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sometimes you had to read the manual first. You had to learn how to play the game before you dove in there. And then games like Pool of Radiance, of course, would have journal entries you had to look up, because they didn't have enough memory to put it on the game. So
I actually really like that. I wish they would do that with some of these later games. Because you don't want to just, especially like the Skyrims and the Morrowinds, Oblivions, they have a lot of text that you're supposed to read. Not cutscenes, just like you pick up a book.
Right.
A bunch of text there on the screen.
Yep.
Something like that, I would like to have the option where it would just say, turn to page 12 in the journal that came with the game.
Right. Yeah.
You could just read that, come back and play some more.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. And I don't want to spend.
I guess I'm probably the only person that would like that, but
I would like it.
I just don't like reading. I don't want to read a bunch of text on the screen if I can avoid it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a different experience. There's a whole reflective versus transmissive, and whether it's easier on your eyes and all this stuff. But anyway, all right. So, interest of time, moving us on. Matt's number 3 is Might and Magic 6. So there's
Mandate of Heaven.
Bum, 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 bum. So, all right. My number 3 is actually Freedom Force. So you were and it just scratched the old itch just right. I remember
wonderful game too.
Man, I can't remember what year that was. Early 2000s, late 90s. I can't remember. I was actually driving home from being out with my buddies, and the bar closed, and at that time I was self-employed, so I was on my own hours, and I was driving. I was bored. I was like, I'm not ready to go home yet, so I rolled up into Walmart, good old 24-hour Walmart, and was just wandering around. And this is. It's a lot easier to be surprised by games today than it was. I mean, it was easier to be surprised then than it is now. You're like, what is this game? And I took it home and played it probably to about 6 o'clock in the morning. And for those of you who don't know, it's just a wonderful superhero RPG that's like a love letter to the comics of the 60s, like Jack Kirby.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And the characters and the game itself was fun. But what bumped it into my number 3 slot is it also had a really good community of modders that were creating skins. So you could bring in your favorite superheroes, and there were like danger room scenarios, and it was multiplayer. You could, I spent probably 10 times more time creating my own characters and goofing around and running AI danger room type scenarios than I did actually playing the game or staying up all night playing it with a buddy. And it's a great game. So I definitely have to give.
Scratches a lot of itches simultaneously.
It's a wonderful game. My only complaint, like most computer role playing games, because I'm not a real time with pause guy, is I wish somehow it could have been turn based, but it is what it is. So all right, so I'm going to get us to a break so we can get back and finish with our countdown here.
Last year, Game Goblins was proud to support Extra Life and Arkansas Children's Hospital with a $5,000 donation. This year, we've committed to giving a minimum of $10,000, and we're excited to invite our customers and gaming community to help make it happen. Beginning May 1st, whenever you make a purchase at Game Goblins, we'll ask a simple question. Would you like to round up for Extra Life and Arkansas Children's Hospital? If you do, we'll round your purchase to the nearest dollar, and those pennies will go to Extra Life. In addition, Game Goblins will match every customer's donation dollar for dollar up to $5,000. Together, we can have fun, play games, and help Arkansas Children's Hospital care for children in need. We hope you'll join us.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Troll Lord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or trolllord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or trolllord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/Shane Plays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk. This episode, in addition to our sponsors and Patreon supporters, Dungeons and Desktops, the History of Computer Role-Playing Games, 2nd edition, which is an update of my friend Matt Barton. He just happens to be on the line with us on this show, if you're just now joining us.
Taylor and Francis.
Yes, and it's an update of his original book, which is well-respected, and it's got more content, revised content. It covers the Kickstarter age now.
From Vista to XP, you know?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And then it's got an intro by Chris Avallone, the forward. It's got these beautiful, crisp screenshots. It's just a heck of a great book if you're into video game history or computer role-playing games or any of that. If you were into...
If you like adventure.
If you like to gather your party and venture forth, then you definitely need to check. And it covers...
If you like fussing with your inventory.
That's right. If you like to save scum. So anyway...
If you like slaughtering rats in cellars.
And rats. And Matt, yeah, if you like to kill a rat in a cellar to get your first XP...
Who doesn't?
I mean, right? Whether they admit it or not. Who doesn't? So, and like I said, it's updated. I'm honored and pleased to be a co-author on this book, and you can get this book.
I'm honored and pleased.
Yeah, well, thank you, sir. And you can find this on Amazon and at the publisher's website of CRC Press. So anyway, all right. So what we're doing is we're counting down our personal top 3 computer role-playing games of all time. So Matt's number 3 was
We're not counting up, Shane.
Well, no, because when you do, I mean, it can be argued either way. But in the common vernacular, it's understood that when you're doing a countdown that you're heading down to number 1. So, yeah. So your number 3 was Might and Magic 6. My number 3 was Freedom Force.
Great games. I would, either one of those games. Great games.
Great games.
Go get them.
You want to know a dirty little secret? I own it, but I've never played Freedom Force versus the Third Reich. I have no idea how it compares to the original.
I don't think it compares all that favorably.
All right.
I remember that one.
No. I don't know. I loved Freedom Force, though. It's fantastic.
I'm pretty sure I played through it.
Yeah.
The fact that I can't remember.
Yeah, it's probably a good indication.
It's probably not the best time, but that first one was a classic.
Yeah. All right. So what's your...
I know people today that are just still livid at City of Heroes.
Yeah, the big MMO.
Yeah. People, yeah, it's kind of the same, kind of a, comic book MMO, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a lot of people that loved it. So what's your number 2 there, Matt?
Well, we got to do a number 2.
Yeah, you got to do a number 2. Yeah.
I'm going to have to put Pool of Radiance in that slot.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And why?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it wants to be number 1, but
well, I know what your number 1 is now.
Recently.
Yeah. Having co-authored the book with you, I know what your number 1 is going to be now.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah. I
might change it just to mess with you.
Just to mess with me? All right. Well, I mean, you are the gatekeeper of your list. So, you can monitor and adjust as you see fit. So why
Super Bombad Racing and RPG?
Super Bombad Racing. If they ever do an RPG version of Star Wars Super Bombad Racing, that's going to be my immediate number 1. So, but why? For the benefit of the listeners, I know why you love Polar Radiance so much. But why do you love Polar Radiance?
Oh God, what's not to love about Pool of Radiance? I mean, this is a game. To me, it was really the first time you had a really definitive Dungeons and Dragons experience on a computer.
Right.
It had the license and it was Forgotten Realms. It was all there. THACO. There.
Turn-based. It was turn-based.
And he had a novel that went with it, it's just magnificent.
Right.
So fun. But yeah, I mean, you had battles in there that would last hours. These epic battles. It's fun. Big, massive map, a lot of diverse places to go. This was on a Commodore 64 for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Wow.
I often wonder when I'm playing an emulated version of Pool of Radiance, which I enjoy, but I'm wondering, and because I've got a Commodore 64 now, I wonder what it would be like if it would be even more immersive and more enjoyable to go back and play it on a Commodore 64. I bet it would.
I don't know.
You don't know?
You got to wait for the thing to load, and your save games can get messed up.
That's true.
Quick story about this Pool of Radiance game. I got it for, I think it was either Christmas or my birthday, one of those. My grandmother bought it for me. And she said I couldn't play it. I couldn't play it until, the day.
Right.
I'm just going to go with birthday. I said my birthday is like 2 weeks away. And so I convinced her. I said, look, I call her Memo. This is a very complicated game. She let me open this up and read the manuals. I won't play the game. Just let me read the manual. So I'll be ready. Ready to hit the ground running on my birthday, right?
Right.
And so she agreed to that. So imagine my pain. I must have read that manual about 6 times, Shane. Imagining.
Yeah, to imagine, to see what it would be like.
It.
Yeah, I love it.
Well.
All right.
And the game did not disappoint.
Well, it's a heck of a great game. A lot of people argue that it, even though you had Ultima and all these other games, that it was really kind of kicked off a lot of what we understand.
Well, it's TSR,
Yeah, it was TSR.
It's the real deal.
Yeah, it's hard to. If anybody wants to experience, has never done, you can go to GOG, goodoldgames.com, get you a legit copy of it, check it out. You're basically playing AD&D 2nd edition on a computer. So Pool of Radiance actually, for the most part, implements Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1st edition rules, except for the fact that it uses THAC0 2-hit armor class 0 for all of its attack calculations and game mechanic, etc. And THAC0 wasn't introduced universally as the main way of doing that in Dungeons & Dragons until Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition. But just
I will say the interface does not hold up as well. There's a lot of, they really needed to, somebody needs to go in and update the UI, basically.
Right. All right. Well, I got to move us forward. Yeah. We got about 5 minutes left here. So, but yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and get her. But we got 7 minutes. Thanks, Zach. Oh, yeah. And Zach went and looked up. Freedom Force came out in 2002. But Pool of Radiance, I can't stress enough not only how much fun of a game it is, really, especially considering the time that it was created, but how important it is to the history of computer role-playing games.
A huge series, too, the Gold Box.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you had, great stuff. So, and guess what? My number 2, Matt, do you want to take a stab at what my number 2 is?
Oh, you're number 2.
No, I'm number 1, Matt. This is my show. You're calling. No, I'm just joking.
The Freedom Force is your 3rd. What could be your 2nd?
It's Radiant. It's a Radiant game.
A Radiant game?
Yeah, it's Radiant. It just radiates. It has radiance, one might almost say. Let's pool our thoughts together and see if we can figure it out.
Surely you're not talking about... No, it couldn't be that.
It is. Pool of Radiance is also my number 2. Not Pool of Radiance Return to Myth.
We had the same game.
Yeah, as number 2. Yeah, and we didn't know ahead of time going in. The only reason that this is not number 1 is because I have had a computer role-playing experience since then that was just the complete, I don't think I'll ever have a better one. But Pool of Radiance has to be number 2 just because it's an amazing game and the pure nostalgia of it. So I still remember, we both know Johnny Wood, game developer.
Tyrant Threx.
Yeah, I remember walking in and I'm like, what is this game? I was at his house. He showed it to me. He's playing on Commodore 64. And I was like, wait a minute, you can play Dungeons and Dragons on a computer? And my head literally exploded. And it's never quite come back together since then. So it's a very important. It's 88, so I was like 16.
I wondered why your head looked like that.
Yeah, well, it's been like that since I was 16. So Pool of Radiance, fantastic game. I still love playing it. I'm a big crunchy tactical rules tabletop RPG player. So I love the turn-based crunchy tactical nature of the battles in Pool of Radiance. So
crunchy.
All right.
There's no Sogbusters here.
None. All right. So your number 1, Matt. What's your number 1?
That would have to be the Cesspool of Radiance Ruins of Mythdrano.
That is an amazing game to hate. So
no.
Can I take a wild stab at what your number 1 might be?
Sure.
Would it by any chance be Baldur's Gate 2?
You looked into the orb, didn't you?
I looked into your book where you rave for like 30 pages on this game.
You did.
Yeah. Yep, I looked into your book, so I already knew what your number one was.
Oh yeah, Baldur's Gate 2. Now that is a game there that does hold up perfectly well.
It's a great game. My only, again, and that's also a D&D second edition. No, I think Pool of Radiance might have been first edition AD&D adaptation. I'd have to go look, but this was the second edition AD&D adaptation. Again, my only gripe, real time with pause combat. That's my only gripe on it. Amazing game. So I don't hold it as high in my personal list as a lot of people do, but it's a great game.
Yeah. For me, Brent knows the way he described it was perfect. You know, it's that game is, for me, is about the balance of the elements.
It's a great experience.
No one element really stands out. I mean, talking story, characters, combat, game world, but I mean, it all works together really well. You know, it's the synthesis of all those elements.
All right. It is a great game. I can't fault it. It's one of those games that even if you don't...
It's got Minsk.
Minsk. Go for the eyes. Boo. With his miniature giant space hamster.
I'm pretty sure that's the origin of the gather. You must gather your party.
You must gather your party before venturing forth. So, fantastic game. Fantastic game. It's one of those games that... even if you're not into D&D or computer role-playing games, a lot of people still played that and enjoyed it. So it was done well. All right, so getting to, just for the interest of time, getting my number one is...
Coast Legends.
Don't get me in trouble. I'm already in enough trouble with the Codex over that one for not hating it. No, Knights of the Old Republic, the original KOTOR.
Oh, gosh,
in my opinion... Now, there's a lot of great role-playing games out there. In my opinion, that is the peak computer role-playing game experience I've ever had. It awesome hit
game.
Smooth game, incredibly great adaptation of the D20 rule set. All the math was there under the hood if you wanted to look, but you didn't have to mess with it if you didn't want to. Story was great. I remember playing it and thinking, man, the story here and plotting is beating the pants off the prequels. You know, the big Darth Revan reveal, the gameplay. I played it on PC. I played it on console. It's my peak computer role playing game experience. I don't think it'll ever be beat. I hope it will, but it hadn't been so far. So
that is a great game.
Great design, great writing. So
almost up there with Super Bombad Racing.
Up there with Super Bombad Racing. All right, so I'm joined by Matt Barton here, my co-author, or actually I'm his co-author on Dungeons and Desktops 2nd edition. And what we're doing here, you're going to notice a change in the quality actually for the better for Matt because during the radio show, because of last minute Skype issues, he had to call in rather than participate by Skype. But what we wanted to do, see how much, palatable Bombardier. So anyway, what happened was with the radio version, we came down to a minute left and we tried to super quickly get through our biggest disappointments and we never even got a chance to get to our most anticipated. So I reached out to the Rat King himself and said, hey, do you have some time to record a little extra for the podcast version? And lo and behold, he did. So here we are via the magic of Google Hangouts recording some extra for the podcast version. I appreciate that a lot, Matt. So
this man will do anything to sell a book.
I will, by goodness. And some good, speaking of good news, the past few days, it looked like Amazon was having stock issues with the book, but now everything seems to be sorted out. So
I attribute that to just all the fans just rushing out there.
That's what happened. Yeah, they literally
take my money.
They laid waste to 3 different Amazon regional warehouses, and so Amazon had to quickly work with CRC Press to get more copies.
I wasn't aware that it had reached Australia yet. That's what amazes me.
Well, yeah, I was one of the things we were talking about before we started recording. I got an alert, a Google alert or whatever that said new books from Shane Stacks, which was kind of weird, but
you know that guy.
Yeah, okay. So I clicked on it, and there was some Australian some site Australian site that said they had a copy. It was kind of like an Australian Amazon or something. I can't remember the name of it.
Good day, mate. Would you like a book?
Yeah, would you like a book? And then what I noticed was instead of
a giant knife.
Yeah, you call that a knife? And in fact, the entire website was just one huge knife. That's all it was. And but anyway, yeah, one thing I did notice that was instead of shopping cart, it said trolley. It said you have, 0 items.
Trolley.
Yeah, 0 items in your trolley.
Your trolley.
Your trolley. So I guess they go to the store and they put a shrimp in the trolley and they buy it and then they take the shrimp home and throw it on the Barbie is I guess what happens.
Wait, so you're telling me the thing I call a buggy.
Yeah, they call it trolley.
My wife calls, I don't know what she calls it, like a shopping cart.
Something. I call it a cart, shopping cart, yeah.
You call it a cart?
Cart, yep.
And am I the only person that calls it a buggy?
I grew up calling it a buggy. I remember calling it a buggy growing up.
I heard people call it basket.
Basket, yep. I used to call it a basket.
But I haven't ever heard trolley.
I'm pretty sure that's an Australian thing.
An Australian thing.
Yeah, let's throw it on the trolley. So, well, let's go to, I guess I could go.
Use that today and be like, yep.
Yeah, throw it in the trolley. So, all right.
Put
anyway,
those books in the trolley.
Put them in the trolley. Put them all in the trolley. Buy all the books. So,
isn't that a little, what is that, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? There was a trolley.
There was a little trolley.
That's what I think about. That's a trolley.
It would take you to Never Never Land. So, yeah. Oh, I've got a little, speaking of buying stuff, check this out. Hold on.
Is it a trolley?
Nope. But
was it ever inside a trolley? Because otherwise,
no, it wasn't. I probably just bumped the old microphone right there. So at my local game exchange, which is a used video game and movie DVD Blu-ray type store, they're throughout the South. I don't know how far reaching they are, but it's like a GameStop, but they don't have any new merchandise. It's all check this out.
Whoa!
Curse of the Azure Bonds.
Oh, that's what it is. I just got kind of distracted there for a second when I saw that.
Yeah, saw the cover art.
Oh, the lizard man. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Secret of the Silver Blades.
Oh, that is a good. How much did you pay for those?
It really wasn't much. It was like $20 each, and they've got all the stuff.
Everything's in there.
All the stuff.
Is the clue book in there? Because that's
the clue book. The clue book
is in there. That was a great deal. Then
look at that. The clue book's in there.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
And even
I don't even want to play those without the clue.
Look, it's got the data card. It's got everything, and then it's got the Adventurer's Journal. Check this out. In Curse of the Azure Bonds. The only thing that could have made this better is if they would have had Pool of Radiance as well. Check this out. You ready? The code wheel. Oh yeah.
Code.
And I mean, it's like literally
in the game. If you have the code wheel,
yeah,
that's really all
there you go. So yeah, and these things are in great shape.
That's an awesome find. I don't even think that code. Can you look me? That code wheel doesn't even look like it's been used.
Yeah, it's in great shape. It's all in great shape. So
man, see, I used mine so much a little divot thing in the middle came out. I had to improvise one.
Yep. So anyway, I'm probably going to do a unboxing video on those two to help promote the book. So anyway, okay, we ended on. Well, we had to rush through on the radio show our biggest disappointments. We never got to the most anticipated. So I want to give us another
future
chance.
Disappointments.
Yeah, the future. Yeah, and the future disappointments. So
hopefully not.
Yeah. So again, as if we've never talked about it, Matt. What was your biggest CRPG disappointment in the history of your CRPG playing?
Oh, as if we haven't talked about this. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that would be anticlimactically Cesspool of Radiance. Ruins. Never has a game been more aptly named than that. Ruins of Myth Draenor.
Okay. So
absolutely horrible.
What was I've never played it. All I know about it is everyone says it's terrible and that like in some cases it literally ate people's hard drives. So what was so bad? Like what was so bad about this game?
I like to add that little bit. It didn't happen to me. I don't even remember bugs. I just remember it being so dreadful. Everything was just muddy looking. It was there was no excitement. It was literally slow, painfully slow. That was the big thing. I mean, you get into a battle with 5 or 6 skeletons, and it would just take like a better part of an hour. It felt like just these things would, each one would take its turn. There'd be a pause. Then it would like take a step, pause, like slowly come towards you. And then it would go to the next skeleton in the same. It was just agony playing this.
And it was kind of drab. I mean,
you just could not believe this thing made it through any kind of playtesting whatsoever. Extremely drab.
I can't remember off the top of my head who made it. Who made this game?
I think it was a one-off.
I'm looking it up.
I don't know what happened.
I've never heard anything good about this game, so it really must be terrible. It was released by Ubisoft, but they may have just been the publisher. I don't know. Let's see here. The Stormfront Studios is the one. Are the ones that developed it.
That should have been.
Yeah,
must have been a rush job or something. Because aren't those the guys that made some of the latter gold box games, like the Savage? What is it called? Treasures of the Savage Frontier.
Let's look it up.
Didn't they do that one?
Let's look up their games developed. If only there were an interconnected series of computers and networks that we could consult. Let's see. Well, they've got a lot of experience making racing games for some strange reason. Oh, you know what? They developed the original Neverwinter Nights on AOL.
Oh, that's where that. Yeah, wow. It's Don Daglow's company.
Yeah, wow.
I thought they did they did some gold box. They did the Savage Gateway to the Savage Frontier.
Yeah.
And Treasure of the Savage. Both of those are they kind of come late in the game. What is that? Early 90s for those? But
yeah,
I thought
91.
Both of those games were great. I had a great time with those. So,
but the thing was,
had no excuse for this.
Well, but with those, they were using an existing mature engine, right? I mean, I'm assuming that Ruins of Mythdraenor used their own engine, like it was a new engine, right?
Yeah, I don't even see this game mentioned on their wiki page. Wow.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is. They don't even mention it.
I know that it receives universal scorn. And I wonder, do you think that if it hadn't had the Pool of Radiance name on it, people would have hated it as much?
No, that's why. That's exactly why I hate it. Otherwise, it would have just been like, this game is kind of...
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, the fact that it was... The expectations set with that.
Yeah.
And it had been several... When did this come out? 2000...
Came out 2001, yeah.
It had been almost a decade since we had a gold box game.
I remember holding it in my hand at like Hastings or something, and like putting it back down, like almost buying it, but putting it back down for some reason. Maybe fate was intervening on my behalf. And
go ahead.
Yeah, and then later, everyone just savaged it. So.
Yeah, I wanted to say I came across it in Sam's Club.
Yeah.
Of all places. And I picked it up and I was like, wow, this is Pool of Radiance? Really?
Yeah.
I remember I was kind of shocked that the price was, I wanted to say it was like $20.
It was Pool of Succiance.
I was thinking, how could this possibly be $20 already?
But my goodness, this is the company that did Madden NFL 98. How could they possibly go wrong?
Here's some comments from Wikipedia. This is GameSpy. Quote, if you see this game, walk away really fast.
Wow.
Let's see, do they say why they didn't like it? Oh, there's Johnny Wilson.
Yeah.
A dragon. I like the way this new edition of the D&D rules have been integrated into the game. So I guess he liked it. Wow.
Well, the one thing that...
Rushed out the door despite being over a year late.
Well,
mindless battles.
Now I've got to play it just because I like bad movies.
It might not be as bad as I remember.
Now I got to play it just because, I like bad movies, but some movies are so bad they're not even entertaining bad, right? So I wonder if Ruins of Mythdraenor or Myth Drano.
Is this
down
a Sharknado?
Myth down the drain. Well, Sharknado knew what it was, right?
Yeah,
they knew
I
they
think
were
that's
making.
one of those it's bad was good kind of movies.
Right. Well, they set up.
Anaconda's another one I put in that.
Yeah, and even some movies that are supposed to be good but are bad can still be entertaining on a certain level, like, Mystery Science Theater 3000. But some crap is so bad, there's no redeeming.
Surf Nazis must die.
Well, now there's some people out there that love Surf Nazis must die.
I like it.
So,
I love it. Yeah, I'm one of those people.
Yeah. Okay, so now they did have a collector's edition of the game. You got a copy of the book. I don't know what book they're talking about.
Book?
Yeah, a copy of the book, an original pen and paper module, an audio CD, and a bag of polyhedral dice. The printed adventure was called Pool of Radiance: Attack on Myth Drainer. So, I guess this game could have been called Attack on Pool of Radiance.
Yeah, look at these designers. I've never heard of any of these guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever went on to.
It could have been a lot. Nobody sets out to make a crap game, right? And nobody sets out to take one of the most beloved CRPGs of all time and to mess it up, So hopefully they didn't. Now this is this used it doesn't use the Infinity engine, does it? It says unlike Baldur's Gate and other Infinity.
It's turn-based.
Oh, it's got, now see, that's one redeeming value. It's got turn-based combat.
Yeah, but it's one of those games that gives turn-based a bad name because, when people think about turn-based, they think about some Drek like this and think it sucks.
One of my favorite implementations of turn-based is, other than like the Gold Box games, which I think do a wonderful job with turn-based combat, is Temple of Elemental Evil.
Yeah.
Now that game out of the box has a lot of problems, but the Circle of 8 mod, if you've ever used that, really fixes a lot of bugs and makes it a pretty spectacular game. And Troika, who made Temple of Elemental Evil, what they did is they tried to put in everything from the rules, and they had so much math to deal with that they just ended up with a metric poopy ton of bugs. Because there's a lot, if you try to cover every possible scenario and every possible rule and combat rule in D&D, that's a lot of programming, a lot of math. I don't think people realize that. But anyway, all right. Okay, so Ruins of the Myth going down the drain is your biggest disappointment.
I will say, though, I think you're onto something with it.
Yeah.
It's probably more owing to the title.
Yeah, than the actual game.
It's more about the expectations. Because I could probably play the game and be like, this is stinky, but it's not.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there have been many worse CRPGs. Mutants of the Scavenger World or something? Scavengers of the Mutant World. I mean,
right.
I'm sure that's worse than this, but still.
Well, I've rarely played a terrible CRPG, but I have played those that were a disappointment for one reason or the other. Before
Descent to Under Mountain's another one that gets
is that a big stinker?
Yeah.
So another thing that Ruins of Myth Draenor had to deal with was it looks like they converted from AD&D 2nd edition to AD&D 3rd edition mid development, which is a pretty big deal. Yeah, so that might have had something to do. Yeah, it was originally designed using 2nd edition, but was converted 3rd edition partway through development. So
you don't want to change horses midstream.
So maybe that has something to do with it. But I also heard some of the art design was very lackluster, like the dungeon tiles all look the same or something.
Let's see. They have some screenshots. Yeah, just looking at these screenshots, it looks okay, but
yeah, I may have to do a let's play of it just to MST3K it. I don't know.
I pretty much blocked it out of memory. So,
well, the above ground looks okay. I don't know.
The graphic style is very similar to Baldur's Gate.
Very similar. Yeah. In fact,
other than the isometric viewpoint.
Yeah. If you didn't know better, just on first glance, you might think it was a Baldur's Gate, especially the above ground stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, I haven't heard much good about Pool of Radiance, Ruins of Myth Draenor. All right. So moving on. you can pretend to be surprised because we've already talked about this, but we're re-recording it. My biggest disappointment, and it probably would have been Temple of Elemental Evil, except for that Circle of 8 mod is really, really impressive. If people have never tried that out, it fixes a lot of stuff and even adds new content in some ways. I might have gone with that, because I was really anticipating that when Troika was, talking about all the stuff it would do and all the rules it would implement. And even in its broken state, I give it a lot of credit. I love that radial menu style where you click on a character and you get that it continues to unfold radial to let you dig deeper into the combat options. But my biggest disappointment is got to be Fable, because this was back in the days before I learned to take developer interviews and press and hype with a grain of salt. And I believed everything. Is it Peter Molyneux? Yeah. How do you say? I believed everything they told me. This was in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. It
was one of the great big console RPGs.
Well, it was going to be on Xbox because Xbox had a hard drive and they needed a hard drive to keep up with all. Dude, I was like, they were like, you're going to actually go from being a little boy and you'll go through your teenage years and then and everything you do has a consequence. And, like you said the other day, like you plant an acorn, you come back later, you'll see the tree. And I was like, wow, I was so blown away.
Get married, have kids.
Yeah, all of this stuff. And what it ended up doing once they finally shipped it is you played for like an hour as the little boy. And then all of a sudden it was like, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. And suddenly you're the adult. Mm-hmm. And all of these choices they said were going to come into play didn't. And so I was just very disappointed. Not that Fable was a good game. And a lot of people love it. Compared to what was promised, it's a huge disappointment to me. So I'm still disappointed. I do.
Alone, I came across many reviews of the game along those lines, and
I
think the people that like me, I hadn't read anything about it when I played.
Right.
So I was just like, "What? It's a fine game."
Right. Yeah. No, it was. I was like, "Wow, we're like on the edge of a whole new era of games." Right. But anyway, I do think that we're getting close to having the technology and resources and computational power and all that now to do a game like that, where you can do that. Could you imagine like a personal MMO that you play yourself off and on for like 20 or 30 years? I can see it happening now, right? It doesn't even have to be a multiplayer, but it's an MMO style game where, you just play it constantly.
You just get older.
Yeah, years and years and years and years.
That would be kind of interesting, like with the World of Warcraft, if your character's aged along with you.
That'd be pretty neat. So
I don't know what kind of effect they would want to have on.
You'd be out there where you're like 80 and your character's like, get off my lawn, and he's swinging his sword around and everything. And you got some troll in big black socks telling people to get off their lawn. So
there are games like the Gold Box games that you could age,
right?
And I guess Fable too. I mean, Fable. How did they handle that in that game? You get old enough to die.
I honestly can't remember. I don't think so. If you do, it jumps, right? So what was originally supposed to happen, it was this going to be natural progression. And instead, you leapt forward sort of, instantly, through like a cutscene or something. So
you must have been like, that's it.
Yeah, I was, I was like, you got to be kidding. Cause I was like, I was getting all excited. Another game that you talked to, is it Brent Knowles? Who did you just talk to that was such a fantastic? Yeah, from Bioware and all that. Another game that I was really excited for that didn't hit as big as I thought it would was what's their martial arts?
Jade Empire.
Jade Empire. I was pretty excited for that.
I played all the way through that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I came off of Knights of the Old Republic, looking forward to that one pretty hard. When I got done with Knights of the Old Republic, BioWare could do no wrong. You know, I was like, they could do no wrong. And for several years, they were on a pretty big hit, you know, or what do you call it? A roll. They were putting the hits out. So, all right. So that was my big disappointment.
I think their problem with, I think what happened, they got tired of paying the royalties.
Yep. That's exactly what happened.
Same thing with Mass Effect, right?
Yep.
And what was the other game when they started doing the Dragon Age?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can, I mean, developing your own IP is sort of the holy grail of that kind of thing, because if you not only do you not have to pay somebody else royalties, but then you get all the money when people want to merchandise the, you know, the Dragon Age underoos or whatever, you know. So
you got the Mass Effect stuff back there.
Yeah,
and also
exactly.
the control. They got total control over it, right? So they don't have to deal with any lore masters or anything over. But just as a player, though, I much prefer. You know, I'd be much happier like if they just continued licensing Star Wars.
I would be
making Knights of the Old Republic games.
Yeah, me too. You know, that was another disappointment where I'm not really getting the MMOs. I kind of consider MMOs a different thing than CRPGs on a certain level, but I was pretty disappointed with the Old Republic MMO when it first came out, only because up to that point, BioWare had been like practically miracle workers, in my opinion, with these amazing games they were putting out. So I expected them to completely break the mold in MMOs, and they really didn't. They delivered basically an EverQuest or World of Warcraft experience with basically all of the dialogue was spoken. That was really the only difference, you know. Now, later on, they kept patching it to where the single player experience got stronger and stronger, but that was kind of a letdown for me. You know, I was expecting them to completely redefine what an MMO could be, you know, victims of their own success. So.
Yeah, everybody was saying this will be the WoW killer.
I
the Star Wars Galaxy guys are kind of upset about it, as I recall. I guess that's been a few years since that came out. When?
Old Republic came out in 5 or 6 years ago now, I think. Maybe longer. I can't remember.
Every now and then I'll run into somebody who's still kind of crazy about it. But
yeah. Well, it's a nice game. It just, I wanted the Knights of the Old Republic of MMOs. I wanted to be blown.
Yeah, that Star Wars tabletop RPG is huge. You know?
Yeah.
What's the excuse? I mean, they should have a kick-ass MMO based on that.
I think just developing an MMO is an engaging, satisfying experience is harder than a lot of people think.
Yeah, you know, what I heard with that game was they tried too hard to make it some kind of hybrid of a single player and an MMO, and they kind of just didn't get either one.
Right.
It's like the game didn't know what it wanted to be, kind of a deal.
Well, I mean, I started playing it, and I'm expecting a revolutionary experience, and within a couple of hours, they're like, okay, go find a group and quest and grind and level up. And I'm like, I'm like, okay, it looks nice.
Expectations were high after all the cutscenes and cinematics and everything.
Yeah, so like I said, again, victims of their own success, like, oh, well, it's BioWare, so it's got to be different. And it wasn't really. So, okay.
Playing that. I think I played that for maybe a couple of days. And like the first few hours, I was just so amazed. I'm like, this is it. Yeah. This is going to be this is the thing.
Right.
And then like the next day coming back, it just felt like, phew.
Yeah, it's, once you get over being impressed by the fact that everything is so polished and everything is voice acted, you're like, this is just a regular MMO. There's nothing else here, and
12 bear asses.
What's that?
Collect 12 bear asses.
Yeah, collect whatever, and I was like, okay, and it kind of comes back to that conversation you have with Brent Knowles, which again, that was such a great interview, where he's like, if you want everything spoken, you get 50% less choice. right? Because it's so much harder to have all these voice actors speak everything. And I'm one of those people that I'd rather have nothing spoken and give me a richer story with more choice and this and that and the other than everything spoken, right? I mean, I'll go watch a movie if I want everything spoken. That's kind of where I'm at. But maybe newer gamers aren't like that. You know, they expect everything to be,
they're watching that. What's that D&D show everybold always talking about?
Critical Role.
Critical Role. I mean, that's what they're expecting everything to be like now.
Right. Yeah. Which I'm like, you know, I'm the old grumpy Critical Role, whatever, bunch of hipsters. So
I was into this before it was cool.
Yeah, these guys, when they weren't even born yet, and I was rolling dice. So,
we had D6s back in my day.
Yeah, we liked it. Yeah, we liked it. So,
did we like
we didn't even have D6s. We found stuff and rolled it. We got chairs, and whichever side the chair flipped up on was what happened. Anyway, okay, so most anticipated. What is your most anticipated CRPG?
You know, for those who haven't gotten the book yet, which sounds like the majority of humanity at this moment.
Yeah.
Shane has a chapter in here. He actually did this section or I guess this is a section within the chapter called CRPGs Under Development.
Right.
Is what I was looking at. And he's got, let's see, some of these have actually come out already.
Right. Shows you how long it takes to book to come out.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
That mean they haven't been out for a long time. Atom RPGs is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. That probably might have made my most anticipated if it wasn't already out. That if people don't know, that's basically the Soviet Fallout. And it's really wonderful game. Yeah, Russian Fallout. It's made by Russian developers. And the conceit is basically Fallout in the Soviet Union. Like what would have happened if Fallout had been told from the perspective of the Soviet Union.
And you should definitely check that out, especially if you're the type that's really turned off by the Obsidian's Fallout games. And you know, if you don't like that, if you want something more old school.
You mean Bethesda?
Or Bethesda is what did I say?
Yep. Well, Obsidian does take a lot of properties.
Isometric view and everything of Fallout 1 and 2.
And there's also a wonderful experience. You see things from like the Russian experience, perspective. A lot of the stuff they put in there. It's a wonderful game.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Yeah. Even if you don't like Fallout, you're going to be impressed with that. But anyway, on to the question. Now the new anticipated. I'm actually most anticipating Wasteland 3. And I really like Shane's, you're talking about you in third person, even though
sure. Yep.
I really like Shane's description of this because he focuses in on what I think is also, this could make or break the game, basically. Right. I don't know anything else about it other than what is known here, but he says that it's going to have this multiplayer. It's going to have a bold new CRPG multiplayer experience. And this is the quote: up to 2 players can each field a unique team of rangers. When those teams are close together in the game, they'll be able to take part in the same turn-based skirmishes. But when they're apart, each player will have their own chance to move the campaign story forward. And I think this is the coolest idea. At times, leading to a cascade of unintended consequences for the other player. Now that sounds awesome.
If they can pull it off. That's a big if, because the game ain't out yet.
But I mean, just imagine that. I mean, the mind just blows my mind just thinking about the possibilities of something like this. So, I guess, I could go off and be fighting some rats in a dungeon somewhere.
Right. Yeah. No, it's obviously it's Brian Fargo. It's in Exile. Mm-hmm. The pedigree is strong. And it's, if they can pull that off, it's going to be pretty amazing. So,
well, that's one of the things we've been talking behind the scenes about doing a game, co-oping a game. And that's one of the issues is, you kind of both have to be online at the same time.
Right.
You don't want somebody to get a lot further along than you.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of issues around that. So this sounds like it would be a really interesting alternative.
If they can pull it off.
Like you could play it for a while, then I could play it some.
Yeah, if you could play it like when you want to.
Yeah, when I want to.
And then the other person's playing it when they want to.
As well.
And then if you both happen to be online and near each other, you know.
And then have this game world responding to these two different players. I mean, that's the thing that.
Yeah, I love the idea of like Matt logging on, playing, like I'm not even anywhere around. He plays for a while, and then something he does impacts my experience 3 days later. And then on top of that, if we both happen to be online and our in-game squad of ranges are near each other, all of a sudden they can hook up and be in the same combat. So that's pretty crazy stuff.
Pretty neat. Just, hey, Shane, I'm having real trouble with these leather punks.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Hop on and bring your rangers over.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah. So maybe we can go on a quest together to get to bring Ace's bones home for their resting place, to give Ace his send-off, his true send-off. Because Ace is the guy at the beginning of Wasteland 2 that has blown it, right? And you've got to go out and pick up where he left off.
What a guy.
What a guy. Good old Ace. So what did you say in the book? That the game kicked his ace or something like that? So
probably.
Yeah, it's fun. I've got, like I think we said earlier during the show, but I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that little Abbott and Costello routine. So, which, like I said, I didn't know how that was going to come off, but I think it came off well. There's, for people who haven't seen the book yet, several places in the book, there's these little sort of who's on first routines that Matt and I go through while we're talking about a game or a subject that are sort of almost like little sidebars apart from the main content.
Yeah, these are really, I don't want to spoil them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you'll get a couple chuckles out of it.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah.
Very geeky, just
the
nerdiness level.
Yeah, as you said earlier during the radio version of the show, in addition to the fact that the book's been updated, it's got new content, there's corrections, revisions, the screenshots look amazing. The book has more personality than we injected some personality into it that as far as almost tongue-in-cheek kind of fourth wall breaking stuff. So
yeah, these still kind of make me smile.
Yeah, they're fun.
I think I'll just read one just to give you.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So like he says, they're kind of set up like Abbott and Costello. So there's Shane, colon, and then a Matt, colon. So here's what Shane says. Didn't you say that if enough people bought this book, we wouldn't starve to death? Matt, actually, I said I
wouldn't starve to death. And I think if I remember right there, we're playing. Actually,
that's responding to something we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and there's something in the book at that point. I think we're talking about Ultima. I think. Yeah, it's Ultima or Wizardry or one of them where you have to eat in the game to stay alive. Yeah, and so that came popping out. All right, so your most anticipated is Wasteland 3 because you're really intrigued by that multiplayer component, which I hope they pull off. But I'll believe it when I see it. I learned from Fable, Matt. I learned. My most anticipated almost was Copper Dreams from Well Not Studios.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list.
It's definitely on my top
looks
3.
Great.
Not only does it look great, it looks like it's got some innovative gameplay. It's a cyberpunk CRPG, but I was incredibly impressed by Serpent and the Staglands, and I've got a lot of respect for Joe and Hannah. Which
fantastic, just people in general.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of them.
Yeah, me too. I love talking to them. Yeah. Another runner-up is it's Shy Snake Games. It's not my most anticipated. Shy Snake
Super Mega Bombad Racing.
Yeah, it's got to be Star Wars Super Mega and Bombad Racing. Shy Snake Games.
You're saying another game though. I'm seeing like a.
Yeah, hold on.
Is that your most anticipated?
That's not it. This is another runner-up. Spy DNA. That's another CRPG I'm looking forward to. It's another husband and wife development team. I did a show with them quite a while back, but just the amount of detail on the weapons and ballistics and everything they're going into is just out of control. But my most anticipated game, and I didn't even know about this CRPG when I was writing the book, is called Knights of the Chalice 2. Now, this is, it kind of looks like a retro isometric RPG experience. It's an indie developer. It's like one guy. The name of the company is
Knights of the Chalice. Well, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, there's Heroic Fantasy Games is the developer. I think it's just one guy. And I missed Knights of the Chalice 1, but there's a demo. But the reason that I'm really excited about Knights of the Chalice 2 is it's an indie game. I like to support indies, but it's an epic, high magic, heroic fantasy, party-based top-down. Oh, so it's not isometric. It's top-down, two-dimensional CRPG, focusing on epic, challenging, turn-based combat and captivating story, offering a variety of real options and in-game consequences. But what really excites me about this is they are implementing the D&D Open Gaming License 3.5 rule set. So, being both a D&D nerd and a computer role-playing game nerd, I'm very excited about this. What I've seen of Knights of the Chalice 1 and also the screenshots and not demos, but videos or whatever of there's a trailer out there. I'm just really excited about this. I want to check it out. So
I don't even see it available for.
It's not out yet.
First one's not on Steam or GOG. The first one.
Yeah, you have to buy it straight from Helm, I think.
I do see that the first one got Banshee's Game of the Year.
Yep.
Award.
Yeah, 2009. I completely missed this one. I didn't know anything about it. In fact, the only reason I think I know anything about it is we have a mutual friend on Facebook that I think he approached both of us and said, "Hey, this guy I know is making this game. Y'all want to talk to him?" The mutual Facebook friend is actually Robbie Sambot, the cover artist for our new book. Wonderful cover. Anyway, Robbie has done some music or audio, maybe both, for Knights of the Chalice 2, and reached out to see if I would like to interview the developer whose name is Pierre. So hopefully something will work out along those lines, whether it's a radio show or a blog post or whatever. But regardless, I'm very interested in the game. And so I started looking at it, and I was gonna
like these early Ultimas.
Yeah, that's
early ones.
Yeah, that's to say, it's kind of like playing an old Ultima or an old Might and Magic or something like that, but with the D&D 3.5 rule set, and that's kind of exciting me. Yeah, so and I offered to have the developer on the show, but evidently he's more open to like email type interviews or something like that. So I may work up a blog post or something talking to this guy. So, you were talking about, in a lot of your interviews, you talk with developers is like, why can't we get games today that scratch that itch?
Yeah.
And I feel like this has the possibility of scratching that itch.
I think I'll have to review the first one.
Yeah. Maybe you can do a retro.
I think that's worthy of a match yet.
Yeah.
Is it saying when the new one's coming out? Or do you know?
I think it's supposed to be pretty soon. I get email updates on it every now and then. Well, another thing, and the last thing I'll say about Knights of the Chalice 2 is on the website at heroicfantasygames.com. There's a section that says what it is not. Okay. And it says it's not designed with the intent to offer a huge nonlinear open world for the player to explore. Sometimes games with a huge open world make the player feel like a rudderless ship lost in the ocean without guidance. Instead, this game focuses on a highly enjoyable core gameplay based on the rules of the OGL 3.5 and an excellent story. I don't now, and I never have minded a linear story as long as it's enjoyable. Not every game has to have 300 hours of gameplay and, moral ambiguity and all that, just
meaningful choices.
And I'm not against meaningful choices, depending on what kind.
I always feel like they're just trying to copy that Grand Theft Auto 3 formula. I mean, I played enough Grand Theft Auto 3.
Right.
I don't need to play it again.
And there's a place for those kind of games because people enjoy those kind of games. But so, like Shadowrun Returns, right? I enjoyed the first one more than, because it was just a linear fun game. And then the second one, they added all the companions that I've got to learn their story, like a blossoming flower and all this stuff. And I don't necessarily dislike that depending on the game. Like Knights of the Old Republic, I love talking to all the companions, you know, if it's done well.
I really want to dig deep into a game like that. They don't have to prod you.
Right. And you know, depending on if it's done right and the kind of experience I'm in the mood for. But I'm also like, sometimes just give me a good old fashioned, you're the good guy, they're the bad guy, go get them and, you know, level up until you can beat them. Right. I mean, I'm fine with that. So that Knights of the Chalice 2 now is my pick. Now I have to say, I'm surprised.
That's a really good pick. I'm actually really impressed with your pick. I think,
yeah.
I mean, I like that you're kind of shining the spotlight on this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we know it's a guy or.
I think so, yeah, because I'm pretty sure I've got his email, and I think
here.
Yeah, I think I've emailed. I'd have to go dig, but if I would have known about this game before we finished the book, I definitely would have put that in the upcoming.
Oh, Stellar Tactics is another one.
Yeah, that guy's Rob. Is it Rob Wilkins? Yeah, I like
Don
Rob.
Wilkins.
Don Wilkins. That's it. That guy's a cool guy.
Yeah, I mean that definitely has potential.
That's a labor of love, but he's also got talent. So if I would have known about Knights of the Chalice, I definitely would have, you know, given a big shout out to this game because it looks really cool. All right, man. Well, that was basically what I wanted to do is, you know, kind of expand on, you know, that we didn't get a chance to get into in the radio show. Did you have any other notes or thoughts or anything you wanted to add in general before we draw this Google Hangout to a close?
I can't really think of anything. You kind of got me.
You're all into Knights of the Chalice.
This Knights of the Chalice thing. It looks like what is going on with these screenshots? I can't tell what I'm looking at here. Okay, close that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to look more into that.
Okay.
No, I can't really think of too much more. I mean, I'm really excited for people to get the book and hopefully get some reviews up on Amazon.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize, you know, how important that is. And
yeah, if you get a copy of the book, please review it on Amazon. That's
please
very
do.
important. Yeah.
You know, you might think it doesn't make any difference, or even if you're not like, you know, foaming at the mouth about how great the book is.
Right.
A lot of times, just the quantity.
Yep. Just having reviews.
Read the book.
You know,
it was okay.
Yeah, it was all right. Whatever. You know, any feedback that is offered genuinely, and not as a jackhole, is appreciated.
Well, that's one of the things we did in this book was go back and look at all the reviews.
Right. What did people, you know?
What did people like? What did they not like? And
right. Anyway, yeah. So that's Dungeons and Desktop Second Edition, the history of computer role playing games, Second Edition, I should say. And again, Matt, you know, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to come along for the ride, and painful but fun. So you were like, "You sure want to do this? It's a lot of work." I'm like, "Whatever." And like a year later, I'm like laid out, almost in a coma.
Oh God, not another round of proofs.
People out there, if you're into this at all, if you're into retro gaming, if you're into computer or game history at all, but definitely if you're into computer role-playing games, I think that you'll like this book. All right. Well, I got to get us out of here, folks. Don't forget, Dungeons and Desktops, History of Computer Role-Playing Game, Matt Barton and myself as co-author. You can get it on Amazon. It really is an amazing book. I was blown away.
You're gonna love this book.
Yeah, I was blown away. I got to do the bad joke of the week. I once held the door for a bard. I guess you could say it was a nice jester. Are you getting it? Yeah. All right. Anyway, folks, we'll catch you next time. Dungeons and Desktop, Second Edition. All right, Matt. Thank you very much, sir. Go kill some rats, pal.
Are you interested in the party?
Yes!
You must gather your party. Gather party. You must gather your party. You must party. You must gather your party before venturing forth.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.